Can the Bearcats shock the world and dethrone the Alabama Crimson Tide in the first round of the college football playoff? Hang tight, I'll let you know what I think. What is up, college football fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Coos, and welcome to another edition of Coos' Corner, your go-to channel for college sports with a heavy dose of West Virginia Mountaineers. Before I preview the Alabama-Cincinnati Goodyear Cotton Bowl game, which is a semifinal in the college football playoff, I ask that if you haven't yet, go ahead and please hit that red subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Give me the thumbs up if you like the content. There's a Fanatics link in the description box. Go to that to buy your sports apparel needs. It's not too late to get it in for Christmas. Go make your orders if you got a sports fan in your life you need to buy a Christmas gift for. Go grab it right now using that link, and I'll make a small commission from it. And that's a way you can support this channel. Now let's get on with the show. First, let's start off with the odds in the game. Alabama is favored by 13.5. The over-under on the game, 58. Now let's look at some team stats. I'll throw them up on the screen for you. Cincinnati, 39.2 points per game. Alabama, 42.2 points per game. Points allowed per game. Cincinnati, 16.1. Alabama, 20.2. Total yards, Cincinnati, 428. Alabama, 496. Yards passing, Cincinnati, 249. Alabama, 348. Yards rushing, Cincinnati, 179. Alabama, 148. Yards allowed, Cincinnati 306, Alabama 306. Passing yards allowed, Cincinnati 168, Alabama 223. Rushing yards allowed, Cincinnati 138, and Alabama 83. Now to note, when you look right here, I mean obviously Alabama, huge advantage in rushing yards allowed. They just don't allow teams to run the ball very much. So can Jerome Ford from Cincinnati get any yards on the ground in this game? I personally don't think he will. Then you look at pass yards allowed. Cincinnati is second nationally with 168 yards a game allowed. That is huge. And we know Alabama loves to throw the ball around the yard with Bryce Young and those receivers. John Mechie for the Alabama is going to be out for this game with an ACL injury. But Alabama has a lot of other capable receivers. And then they've got Jameson Williams, who's arguably the best in the nation, or at least one of the best in the nation. But when you look at Cincinnati, they've got those two lockdown corners that have played well all year, and they're only giving up 168 pass yards a game, and they've had their fair amount of sacks too. But what I wanted to do was, when you look at the two team schedules, obviously Cincinnati's played a weaker schedule because they're in the American Conference. So I looked at Cincinnati's pass yards per game allowed in their two games against Power 5 teams, Notre Dame and Indiana. In those games, they gave up 257 against Notre Dame and 224 against Indiana. Now, they won those games and didn't give up a lot of points, but they did give up some pass yards. And no disrespect to Notre Dame or Indiana, but neither one of those teams have Bryce Young. Neither one of those teams have a Jameson Williams. So this defense is going to be put to the test more than they ever have. We're going to really see how good these corners are for Cincinnati. Are they as good as advertised? We're going to find out in this game. When I was digging into the team stats, when I dug a little deeper into some more team stats that aren't necessarily on this list, I found that Alabama leads in most statistical categories. Only statistical category Cincinnati had an advantage in when looking at some secondary stats were they've given up less sacks. Cincinnati's only given up 19 sacks on the year versus Bama's 35. But they've not faced a Will Anderson. Will Anderson leads the nation in sacks. And Alabama has sacked opposing quarterbacks 46 times this year. So this is by far the best defensive line Cincinnati has ever faced. Cincinnati has a slight advantage on net average punt yards, but not really enough to matter. Forced fumbles, they have forced a few more fumbles on the year. They are ball hawks. And interceptions, they have 3 more interceptions on the year, but there again, it's only 3. So, I mean, Alabama, everybody going into the SEC championship game, everybody want to talk about Georgia's defense. I'm telling you, when I look through these stats, Alabama's got a pretty dang good defense. They're third nationally in tackles for loss. They're 8th nationally in third down defense. Only giving up 32% conversions on third down. So, listen, Alabama's defense is not too shabby. The one area where Alabama's defense is weak If there's a weakness, it's their pass defense. They're 61st in the nation in pass defense. So that's really the only area that I see that Cincinnati might have a chance to exploit in this game. Now, when you look at player stats, obviously you've got the quarterbacks. You've got Desmond Ridder for Cincinnati. He's 234 out of 355 passing for 3,190 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Then you've got the likely Heisman winner Bryce Young, 314 passing for 314 out of 462 passing, 4,322 yards, 43 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That is just a 10-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Over 10-to-1, actually. Almost 11-to-1. That's just unbelievable, man. To throw 462 balls and only throw 4 interceptions. Rushing yards, Jerome Ford for Cincinnati, 200 carries, 1,242 yards, 19 touchdowns. Then you got Brian Robinson from Alabama, 223 carries, 1,071 yards, 14 touchdowns. Receiving yards, you've got Alec Pierce from Cincinnati, 50 receptions, 867 yards, 8 touchdowns. Then Jamison Williams for Alabama, 68 receptions, 1,445 yards, 15 touchdowns. The cat he's a speedster. I mean, he was beating Georgia's DBs. I saw multiple plays where he beat 2 different DBs on one play. The guy's just really, really hard to cover. Cincinnati passing game, Ridder likes to throw the ball and spread it around, like I said in my preview video for the Houston game. He likes to throw it to multiple receivers, get everybody involved. They've got 4 or 5 receivers that have over 20 receptions on the season. Pierce just happens to be the one leading the team at the moment. But you look at some other key player stats in this game, some other key players. Will Anderson for Alabama, their defensive end, just a beast up front. He's got 15.5 sacks on the season to lead the nation. Can Cincinnati handle him? Can their offensive line handle Will Anderson and that Alabama defensive front? We'll see. I'll let you know at the end what my score prediction is. And be sure, by the way, to drop your score prediction in the comments below. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think, but I'll give you mine at the end. Cincinnati, key players for me. You look at, like I mentioned earlier, the two corners. You got Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant, 2 ball hawks back there. Gardner is Defensive Player of the Year in the American Conference. He's a junior, has played 3 seasons, and has never given up a touchdown pass. Just remarkable cover corner. He's never been tested like he's going to be tested in this game. So he better bring his A game, better eat his Wheaties, better eat his spinach, whatever he needs to do, because Jamison Williams will absolutely test him like he's never been tested before. Then, but Cincinnati also has a couple good linebackers. They've got Joel DeBlanco and Deshaun Pace. DeBlanco has 106 tackles on the year, 56 of those solo. And then Pace has 4 interceptions on the year, to go along with 86 tackles. He leads the team in interceptions from the linebacker spot. Now, keys to victory for each team. For me, let's start with Cincinnati. First, defensively, they need to force turnovers. Cincinnati needs to get as many extra possessions as they can in this game because they're going to need them. They're going to need the ball as many times as they can get them. They're going to have to score they need to score on every possession because Alabama's offense is remarkable. They're not going to be able to stop. They're not going to be able to completely stop Alabama's offense. It's just how many times can they stop them and can they outscore them. So I think they need to force some turnovers, get some extra possessions. And can those highly talented corners that I mentioned, can they stop Jamison Williams and those other Alabama receivers? And then on offense, can they make some big plays down the field in the passing game? They're likely not going to be able to run the ball against Alabama. So Desmond Ridder is going to have to win this game with his arm. And I think they need to make some big plays, try to break that Alabama defense's back. Alabama defense, like I said earlier, their one weakness is probably the pass on pass defense. Can Cincinnati exploit that and make some plays down the field? That's going to be key in this game. And then for Bama's keys to victory, Will Anderson and the defensive front wreak some havoc, get to Desmond Ridder, cause some chaos, make it hard for him to get rid of the football. Offensively, can those receivers, can some other Alabama receivers step up to fill the void left by John Mechie? John Mechie's a great receiver. He's going to be greatly missed in this game. But as we saw against Auburn, when Jamison Williams went out, Mechie stepped up and made more plays, and then some other guys stepped up. Can they do the same thing this time in a reverse role and fill in for Mechie? And can Alabama establish the run game with Brian Robinson? I think they can. I think Cincinnati is a little bit vulnerable to the running game, and I think that might be where Alabama can exploit them the most. Even if they're able to limit Jameson Williams in the pass game, I don't think they're going to be able to stop them in the run game as well. It's going to take so much attention and focus to stop that pass game. It's going to be hard to stop both. Alabama is so good and so balanced. It's going to be hard to stop them in all phases. My score prediction: I think it's going to be a close game through the first half. I think it might even be tied, or Alabama might have a slight lead at halftime. But I think in the second half, the Alabama skill, the Alabama speed, the Alabama talent just wears out Cincinnati, and Alabama ends up winning this game. I think they go way over the 58. That's a low over-under to me. I think Alabama will put up close to 50 on their own. I think they win the game 48-28. I mean, my gosh, they put up 41 against Georgia. And I've never heard anybody say Cincinnati's defense is as good as Georgia. I think Alabama puts up 48 points to Cincinnati's 28 points and wins the game by 20, pulls away in the second half to get it done, to go to yet another national championship game. Cincinnati's going to have to play the game of their life, more than likely to win this game, and Alabama cannot take Cincinnati lightly. I know Nick Saban's had experience in the past. He had a team that lost to Boise State one time in a bowl game, or I think it was Boise State. It was a group of 5 school in a bowl game once before, or maybe in Utah at the time. But so I know he'll probably show that film or talk about that a little bit to his guys. And I know he's going to talk Cincinnati up as much as he possibly can in the media from between now and game day to try to make sure his guys don't take it lightly. But after all, we're talking about 18, 19, and 20-year-olds here. Will they come into this game overconfident after beating Georgia? If they do that, Cincinnati can win the game. If they do that and then Cincinnati comes in and plays a near perfect game, Cincinnati can win. But if Alabama plays their game and does what they need to do and normally do, they win this game by 20, 48-28. Let me know in the comments, guys, what do you think about my score prediction? Do you think it's an accurate prediction? Do you think I'm maybe being a little bit too hard on Cincinnati? Are they going to do better than what I'm thinking? Let me know. I look forward to hearing your feedback. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Fanatics link. Check out this video right here about West Virginia's bowl game against Minnesota. I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time.